So Sanjay, if you can just tell us a little bit more about what these amazing techniques are, like how are business owners connecting with their clients and what's changed during COVID times?
Thank you, Anecia. Thank you, Anshuman. Thank you, Anil, for hosting this Fireside Chat today. I'm really grateful to the TiE SoCal for giving us marketeers an opportunity to have a voice today. Today happens to be Women's Equality Day as well in the US. It's been 100 years since the women in the US, they got the right to vote and be heard. So I'm really thankful to all the women in my life, including Anecia here today, who is our TiE SoCal, member and marketeer as well. So really thankful. I was talking to my daughter earlier today about sharing a tweet on something to that effect, like women have no equal, and she didn't quite like that. She said, no, Dad, you're not going to do that. But the point is, women do have no equal, and I really feel strongly that that we live in 2020 now, where it's been amazing to see so many women leaders and pioneers all around us. Coming back to Anicia's question on how are business owners connecting, especially with their clients during this COVID times, and it's been interesting times for sure. Businesses are normally reactive to the client needs, especially after your customers have been formed. And what typically ends up happening is customers, they require support or service. They're contacting the businesses are responding, and hopefully customers are happy. But typically when you need service, the starting point is unhappiness. There's something wrong. But what has happened though is during the COVID times, businesses have changed. They are now required to become more proactive. So from being reactive to proactive, and now they're listening more to their customers. It's actually a matter of survival, because if you're not going to listen, you may lose the customer for life, and they may not come back. So what owners are doing, they're leveraging the entire suite of digital marketing tools and resources available to them, from online meetings to video conferencing on Zoom, like what we're doing today, even other products like FaceTime of the world. To live chat on their websites, messaging, more personal emails, social media interactions, not just posting. And we'll talk about that, the difference between interaction and the post. So businesses have to really make sure that they are leveraging, if you may, all these tools to engage with their customers. And believe me, customers do have many choices now. So if you don't want to do this, I guess they can as easily find somebody else to do business with. So be aware of that. So yes, from reactive to proactive. And I would say the big difference is they're listening more, and definitely they're leveraging a lot of digital tools.
Thank you. Well, why do you feel like so many customers still feel so disengaged? Or why do you feel like there's such a disconnect?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what happens is, as I said, you have the prospective customers, and then you have the current customers. And typically, customers in this day and age, they want live conversations. You see, if I'm on your website and I have a question, and if I'm browsing, or if I'm on your social media channel, be it on oGoing or Facebook, so they want live interaction. They want an instant answer. I think we live in an age where the attention spans are quite less. And if I'm not getting, a live, someone to connect with a chat or a messaging or even, an old-fashioned phone call, it feels like, I'm not getting the engagement I need. And not all customers, by the way, prefer this asynchronous mode that a lot of business owners are used to, which typically means send us an email, give us a contact us form, we'll respond back to you in 24 hours or 48 hours. And even, a comment that a customer left on a social media, which many times never gets responded to, believe it or not, for many days, they don't even respond to a comment. So, in this day and age, if you do not respond to your customers immediately, then obviously there's going to be a disconnect. So when they cannot engage, there is a disconnect. And engagement also happens, Anecia, when there is some sort of common ground. By common ground, I mean, the businesses have to share more of what they are all about. What is their purpose? Why are they doing this business? What's going on beyond just their products and services. They need to be talking about, it's COVID times, what they're doing in the communities. Are they helping their fellow citizens? They need to bring out the human side, and they need to show that they are more purposeful businesses as opposed to, just selling their products and services. And I think when you combine all those elements, that brings out the human connection, which frankly has been missing. But now, in a way, this pandemic is, in a strange way, but in a good way, bringing out the human elements of the businesses even more so. And I would say one more thing, and that's what Anshuman kind of pinned me on earlier, is the whole topic of 500 customers, and we're going to get to that. But customers, they want personalized communications. They really don't want all this, mass emails and stuff. I do that too, by the way. So I'm partly responsible for the market here. But if I go to a flower shop and I love white flowers, that I buy for my wife, white roses or white daisies, then it doesn't take a lot for the owner of the flower shop to know that, hey, Sanjay's preference is white flowers. Now, if he's going to send me marketing messages about red roses or red something else, I'm not going to respond. And if he keeps sending me that, then I'm probably going to sign off. So I think part of the challenge is to really understand what the customer's likes or dislikes are. And I think Amazon, as we know, they do an awesome job of that. Like they even know what I'm planning to buy before I even hit the buy button, which is kind of scary at times. But the point is, obviously, the more businesses get to know their customers better, the more they can personalize how they contact them, how they talk to them, and the more engaged they can get.
Yeah, well, I don't know about you, but I'm curious to know what everyone else thinks. So I'm going to share a poll with everyone to fill out and see what they think as well.
Yeah, let's do a poll.
Okay, I think it's shared. Can you guys see it on your screen? Can you see it?
I think the best proof is if people are responding. Did you launch the poll?
I see one so far.
Oh, good.
So we're making progress. Okay. So far we have 2 no's. Oh.
Are you seeing the poll results?
Oh. Yes.
A lot of people saying they cannot see the poll, so let's see. Hold on.
I have 2 responses. Uh-oh. Okay, well, the question is, are you suggesting that we can provide, oh wait. Can you see it now? Sandra?
I think the poll normally is not shown to the panelists, so I will be in the dark.
Oh.
But it should show to the attendees.
Oh, well,
I just allow panelists to vote also. So launch polling. Okay, so now.
Okay, there we go. Now we see it.
Oh.
Okay, it's up now. So you got to click on the launch poll here.
Oh, sorry. I was almost there.
No, that's good. So I think the question here is a great one. How many customers did you help last week and make them happy? There you go.
Oh.
So I think that's
the important part.
Are you seeing some responses coming in, Anecia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, great.
We have about 30 seconds left, and then we should be able to see the results.
Yeah, so I think the key here is trying to get a pulse of how connected are you with your customers, and how frequently you are connecting and engaging with them. Because it's pretty easy to not do that. So it'll be interesting to see what the results are.
Okay, we're all finished. So 23% of people said 1 happy customer, 2 to 5 happy customers is 63%, 6 to 10 is only 3%, and 10% is more than 10 happy customers. So primarily everyone has had 2 to 5 happy customers.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So I think my goal is to, as you said, we want to engage 500 customers in a given month. So hopefully when we do this poll next time in a few months, I want to see that number way up there. Okay. So that's, and hopefully let's see if we can keep that going. But the goal is to engage, if you, let's say, engage with 20 customers a day, and that's 20 times 5, 5-day week. So that should be 100 customers you should be connecting to. And we'll get to that, Anecia, later in the Q&A.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, why do you think customers think the most of the marketing feels like selling? Or is that or do you think that perception will ever change?
Yeah, that's, it's a lot of marketers, they get in the habit of showcasing, especially B2B companies and even to some extent B2C, their features and benefits and how they're really good or the best in the particular field. So what happens is you go to their website, here is the website we look at or the flyer they send us, and a lot of it is about that, and which is all good, that shows how good the company is. But what we need to change the approach now is take a more of an educational approach. I think nowadays the customers, they want to listen more, if you are educating them, if you are sharing with them, what the products and solutions can do for them, what are the various solutions about, what are the pros and cons, how did you end up making this happen, right? So they want more of a did you know approach or more of do it yourself messages. I think a better marketer in this day and age is a better educator. So if you can educate your clients on what their needs are and how you can actually help them, solve those problems, as opposed to leading with your features and benefits of products and services, that just changes how the clients will respond to you better. Then they will think of your marketing as more educational versus more selling. And I would say the number of customers who will engage with you, it will just go up from there.
Okay. And do you feel like are businesses listening to their customers, or how would you say they're doing? Or how do you feel like they respond, or how they're responding?
Yeah, so I think, again, this is another problem that I see with a lot of businesses, especially business owners, where they don't take the time to listen. And, your customers are active. They're active on social media. A lot of them are active 24/7. And they are sharing what they like. They are sharing what they don't like. On the other hand, the business owners are too busy marketing their company and their products and services, too busy sharing how great they are. And on the other hand, here are your customers or potential customers sharing, what's going on in their lives, what the likes and dislikes are. So ultimately, there is a disconnect. Now, if the business owner instead, they spend time every day to listen to what this customer is saying, they can listen on Instagram, they can listen on Facebook, they can listen on LinkedIn, depending on where their customers are, and oGoing as well. And now what happens is from just selling to marketing, you're changing your paradigm to listening. And now you can then respond to what the customers are saying. So I think as marketeers, we tend to focus too much on creating and sharing a lot of new content, a lot of creative content. But I'm also saying you should spend the same amount of time to listening to what your customers are saying. And then if you do that, and then if you respond in a timely way, then what you're going to end up having is, a more engaged customer base.
Okay. Well, given that digital marketing is pretty much everywhere and customers are constantly being overwhelmed with emails or social media messages, advertising, and all of that, how can business stand out in the middle of how can businesses truly stand out, even if they are listening to their customers and trying to learn more about them, but how do they not get saturated in everyone else or with everyone else?
Yeah, so that's the holy grail, right? I mean, how does a local business and how can a business really stand out from everybody else? You know, there's just a lot of noise out there.
Yeah.
And I think you cannot stand out by spending more money than your competitor. You know, that actually is a recipe for eventual disaster. You know, you may have a marketing budget today, but you know, ultimately you're just going to end up spending a lot more money, and then you cannot outcompete, you know, everybody else out there. So what you really have to do is differentiate, and as I said earlier, you can differentiate by being an educator. So if you change your marketing to being more of an educator, to be somebody who is providing knowledge that ultimately helps your customer do better business, and to the point where you even go out and train your customers, right? I mean, don't just stop at, you know, at the point where you sold them the product. You know, go out and train them. And if you can train them better, again, and help them do a better job of not just using your product, but also then using and doing their jobs better, that customer is going to be a happy customer. Uh, you know, nowadays customers may be not too excited to buy something new because everybody is watching their bottom line. You know, everybody's watching how much money they spend, you know, in terms of buying something like your own product or service. Well, then open up your business model where you give them something in a complimentary setting. I'm not saying give it away for free, but give it to them, you know, for, you know, a month, you know, and then don't just give them a month's trial and with the hope that it's going to work out fine. You have to then educate them how you have to make sure they are using the products, and you have to make sure they're using the right way. Finally, you know, look, if everybody has a website, you know, one of the things that you may not know, and if you are looking at your analytics, you may end up finding that a lot of customers are not just going to your home page or even your products and services page. Many times they're going to your FAQ pages. And again, this is something that a lot of good marketeers, they know that. So what I'm telling you is go build out your FAQs, you know, the frequently asked questions. And the more knowledge you will share through the FAQs, the better your customers will be informed even before they buy your product and services. And you know, if you've done a good job, a reasonably good job of sharing that, they're more likely to going to come back and do business with you. And finally, you know, maintain your true brand identity. Look, you cannot imitate anybody else. You know, you got to be yourself. You got to be authentic. You got to be who you are. And if you are a local family business, that's your identity. You know, you stick to that and say, look, we are a local family business, and we have been doing business for the last 20 years. If you're a woman-run business, you know, look, you claim that you are a women, you know, owned business, and you know, you're proud to be one. And here is how you're serving the community. I think by managing and maintaining your identity, your brand identity, and your authenticity, that again resonates well, and that you know, a lot of customers will like to do business with you because of that. Finally, you know, I talked about the white roses. You know, again, there are a lot of businesses who know your choices, and if I'm a buyer of a vegetarian or vegan food, similar to white roses analogy earlier, please don't send me, you know, information about what is the best place for going and having chicken or fish, you know, locally. And that to me, and it still happens, you know, a lot of companies do that.
Right.
I think it's not difficult to know what particular likes or dislikes are, you know, for a customer, and you can then custom message them based on what those are, and invest in some of those tools, and then you will see that your customer engagement will just go through the roof.
Yeah, you're definitely right. And that's some great food for thought. I'm going to share another poll just to get their perspective as well. And see what they have to think.
Love the polls.
Uh-oh.
That was number one, so you could close that.
You know, we're making progress. We're figuring this out as we go. Or I'm figuring this out, actually. There we go.
Oh, that's a great question, yeah.
Oh, look at it go.
I see.
So how often do you engage with your existing customers? I guess that's the question of the day.
Well, so far it looks like once a week is winning. Oh, nope, once a month is now winning. Okay, yeah, 40 seconds. Okay. So it looks like actually once a week ended up, no, once a month. I lied. Once a month, 39% of people engage
Yeah,
with
so that is a great stat right there. So once a month. And yeah, I don't know, Anecia, do you remember what you did last month on this particular day?
eating most likely.
Yeah, so that's the problem, isn't it? So if you ask me what I was doing on Wednesday, July the 26th, I think that's a problem with marketeers and business owners, right? Because, you know, most businesses or most customers will not remember you if you're just connecting with them once a month.
No,
And I
but
think,
Sanjay, I have a point here to make. I think the attendees took this question as if, for example, you have 15 customers, 15 paying customers. So, you know, how often do you interact with them? And then the answer is once a month.
yeah, but that's still pretty low, Anshuman, right?
Yeah.
From a vantage point of the fact that those customers have many choices out there, and importantly, they will forget if you are just connecting with them once a month. I'm not saying do once a day, but definitely more than once a month would be an ideal number, because otherwise what can end up happening is dissonance as well as you know yeah, it's just customers don't remember, you know, if you're just going to connect with them once a month. So I would say be, if you want to be the trusted partner, ideally you should communicate at least once a week. Even if they don't respond, that's fine, but that at least shows to the client that you have made an attempt to, you know, connect with them, and you know, you care about what's going on. So I think that to me is a big change that a lot of us can look into. The good news is once a week was right behind once a month, so I'm sure some of us are doing that. So no reason to say anything more for them. So uh, so no, but these are some insights to be gained, you know, from how often we connect to our customers. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you feel like are a few things you can be doing to engage with your customers more? So that way you're not just doing it once a month, but what should they be doing?
Yeah. So, you know, before I jump to that, there are some things you should not be doing, right? So let's talk quickly about things you should not be doing. So there's always a temptation for a business owner, you know, to find some shortcuts, you know, to running their business, or to growing their business. You know, everybody is you know, in a fast-paced world, and they want to make sure that they can grow, and that's fine. I mean, the growth is an important you know, parameter, but let's not oversell who we are, you know, our features or products and benefits, right? Because when you start overselling what we are, ultimately, you know, it's a recipe for disaster, because you're going to under deliver on those, and then you have the recipe where the customer is not happy. So, you know, I would probably say the better way of referencing is undersell and over deliver. I think that's kind of a you know, something that I always say in sales. So, you know, you want to be careful with that. And you know, other thing is, customers, you know, if you are going to say we can do all of the above for you, they start building up higher expectations from you from the get-go. So again, that's something you want to avoid. You know, you want to provide them some, you know, I would say realistic expectations if you're a marketeer or if you're a technologist, and then make sure you deliver on those, right? Because that's what the business is looking, you know, from you. And if you're delivering against the realistic you know, expectation, then they're going to be happier, then they're going to refer you more business. So I would say those are a couple of things that you should not be doing. Also, don't engage superficially. I think what I see many a times is the moment somebody makes a connection with you on any of this, you know, professional networks, the next thing you know is they feel that that connection is ready to do business. To me, that's called a superficial engagement, right? That means I really don't know Anecia. I don't know what business she is in. I don't even know what her needs are. And the next thing you know is I'm sending her an email. Hey, Anecia, great to connect with you. Take a look at oGoing. You know, here are all the awesome products, you know, features that we have, benefits that we offer. Is the best thing since sliced bread. Oh, you must get on it. And What do you think Anecia is going to respond to that? I mean, she's like, wait a moment, you really don't know what I'm doing. You haven't even talked to me. You haven't really taken the time to understand my business. You don't even know what I do in a given day. So again, let's cut out the superficial engagement. Let's make sure we engage before we engage, let's listen and really learn about what the business is all about. So again, not listening to customer signals is another, something you should, strike out from your to-do list. Listen to those customer signals. If Anecia is on LinkedIn or Facebook actively, and she's talking about, hey, I need a recommendation for a bookkeeper or an accountant, my taxes are coming up, that's your customer signal. Look, you got to listen to that, and if you know someone really good that has helped you, go make the recommendation to her, and then she will say, oh wow, that's a customer that I may end up doing more business with, because look, they're listening to what I'm sharing, they're listening to what I'm suggesting or asking about on social media. So I would say those are the things not to do. But let's talk about what to do, right? The topic of today is how to engage and connect with 500 customers, in a given month. And that is a tall order. How do you really do it? And I would say there are 3 steps to doing that. So we're going to break it down. And step 1 is, as we all know, is the most important step, and we talked about that briefly today, is knowing your customer. Do you really know your customer? And by that we mean, who are all the clients, who are all the contacts you have. So first thing I want everybody to think about is you got to know your customers better. And let's start by creating a contact list. And at a minimum, the contact list should include, besides their name and their email, and hopefully you have their mobile phone numbers and city. What you should also think about including is 2 more things at least, which is customer value, and something interesting. And I'll talk about that. So what is something interesting? Well, something interesting is what are this customer's potential likes or dislikes? What are they passionate about? What is it that they are sharing on social media? What is it that's important to them? And again, these are important things to know. What is their birthday, for instance? That would be interesting too. But the reason I'm saying all that is those something interesting points, they create commonalities that you can talk about. The next time you pick up the phone and talk to them, or you send them an email, you can share something on those points of something interesting. Let's say they are a Lakers fan and the Lakers just won against the Portland Trail Blazers. You know what? That's the starting point of a conversation. Send them a quick note. Hey, Lakers won yesterday. I'm sure you watched the game. Wasn't it great how LeBron hit that 3-pointer? That's a point of something interesting, which, they will then come back and respond to you. So again, I would say jot down those interesting points about that customer. The other thing is customer value. For example, what does it mean by customer value? It's not just a number, but it's the value that customer can bring to you today and in the future. So it is a qualifier. For example, the actual sale a customer can bring to you maybe a really small amount, but it could just so happen that this customer is a huge influencer in an industry. For example, let's say if TiE SoCal, which is a leading entrepreneurship organization here in Southern California, let's say if they were to become a customer of oGoing, maybe I'm saying, oh, they're just going to buy 2 seats of oGoing, not a big deal. But what if I'm thinking like, oh wow, TiE SoCal is connecting to maybe 500 different business owners and entrepreneurs, in Southern California. Suddenly, the customer value of TiE SoCal is much higher. I need to treat that customer quite differently than just anybody else, who's just bringing 1 or 2 seats, or subscription accounts to my business. So again, I would say put that customer value down. So, first and foremost, you got to know your customers really well. Even before you pick up the phone or send them that first email, build that list out of who your contacts are and who, what is it that they're all about, besides the mundane information. Now, if you're a B2B customer, this information is even more valuable because B2B cycles are much longer. They can take anywhere from, a few months to even a year to close. one sale. So from that vantage point, you have to really dig deep into not only knowing everything about the business, but everything about the buyer's journey, everything about who all are going to be involved in the decision-making process, not just that one contact point, but everybody inside the department. And you have to do a lot of homework about each person's, likes, dislikes, who are, who would they recommend, who would be their, who would be their managers be, who are the decision makers. All of that needs to be on the table, because only then you can approach your deal in a way where you can then hopefully close it. Now, most business owners may not have 500 contacts or even 1,000 contacts to begin with. So let's talk about how you're going to build out your list. So if you don't have a list, there are different ways to do it. You can start building it on LinkedIn, which is a professional community, and you can make a lot of connections to a lot of professionals on LinkedIn. You just have to make sure you take the time to build out those connections. You can also do it through oGoing. oGoing is a verified business community, which means every business that joins on oGoing is authentic and verified. If they don't, go through the steps of authentication, they will not even have an oGoing profile. So at least on oGoing, you will know that the small businesses you're connecting to, they're verified. You can also make a lot of good connections through Instagram and Facebook and some of the newer networks like Pinterest. But again, after you make the connection, you still have to do the homework of putting all the information down on who that particular contact is. What are the likes and dislikes? What is something interesting about them, besides all the usual information? The last thing you can do is, a lot of these businesses, they have a social media presence. TiE SoCal has a page a very active page on Facebook. We're also active on Twitter, and we also do a lot on LinkedIn. Not a lot of marketeers or business owners do is, who are the connections on these pages. We have followers, we have fans, we have connections or contacts. When was the last time you actually made a list of all those connections, actually went through each of their profile, and then again put it on a list? Well, if you're not doing that, that just tells me that you really don't care about who those connections are, nor you are interested in doing business with them. Because ultimately, look, the connections took the time to follow you or connect with you through your social networks. If you're not going to take the time now to go back and see who they are, and again, make an attempt to put them down into a database, then again, you have lost the ability or the opportunity to potentially do business with them. So I would say, by going through this process of knowing your customers, you're going to come closer to the second step, which is now you want to organize them. So look, the goal is that now that you know your customers, how do you organize them? So now you're ready to do more business with them. And I would say the goal is now to convert them into business. So it's not that simple. First, you got to organize them as your existing customers, your prospective customers, potential partners, distributors, suppliers. I mean, you got to tag them, right? So now each contact that you have needs to be tagged. Because if you don't tag, then what will end up happening is you're going to end up sending the same messages to everybody, which really doesn't make any sense. You want to differentiate the messages you send to your existing customers versus, somebody who is not even a customer yet. Now, in a social media world that we live in, a lot of customers, I would say, they are not even prospects yet. They are just, I call them acquaintances or suspects. So again, you got to have a different column for them, because they may have connected with you, but they don't even know who you are. They don't even know what your business is about. So again, you got to organize that information, and now once you have done that, you can be ready now to say, let's start engaging with them. You got to think about different engagement acts. I call them action items. How are you going to engage with this customer, right? Or this list of contacts? And there are many ways you can engage. Look, a phone call is a great way. If you have their phone number, that still works. That's the old-fashioned way. But believe it or not, not a lot of business owners are making the phone calls nowadays. I think everybody has this thought that if you just send them an email, they should be able to respond to that, and business will get done. Well, no, it doesn't. Phone call still works. I would say between all these different ways, a phone call, a video meeting, on Zoom or FaceTime, setting up an appointment, sending them an SMS, doing messaging, do messaging. A lot of these good platforms, including LinkedIn, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, oGoing. A lot of them, they give you messaging right within the platform. Use that. If you're not going to use messaging, then again, you're losing out, even WhatsApp, you're losing out on the ability to connect with them directly right where they are. I would say personal email. Don't get into the habit of sending these mass emails. I think mass emails work well, when you have a prospect list or a suspect list. But once you have made a relationship, then you want to personalize your communications to that customer. No more mass emails. It takes more effort, but it's worth it, believe me. I would say send them special invitations, to a specific event that you're hosting. But it has to be a special invite. Can't be, again, a generic invite. Send them did you know type of educational messages, because again, if you get to know your customers better, you should be able to send them educational messages, which will again help them do better business. Sharing news, we talked about, if you know what's something interesting about them, what are their likes and dislikes, maybe they're passionate about, pharmaceutical industry, or they're passionate about something that happens in healthcare, maybe a fitness app. Well, that's an information, what, if there is something interesting going on about that particular, app, in the marketplace, share that news with your customer. That's how they will, they'll connect better with you. And I think the other thing a lot of us don't do is ask our customers for feedback. Get in the habit of doing that. They'll be happy to give you feedback. Feedback could be about your product, your service. Feedback could be about, an engagement you had, last week or last month. What did they think about it? Feedback could be about something you just send them, and see what their thoughts were. Ask them for feedback. And if they're happy about something, ask them for a referral. I think they'll be very happy to get a referral from you or for you, if they really want to engage with you. And then I would say, when the time is right, and if you really feel they're happy, ask them for a recommendation. A good recommendation, like in the form of a review, in the form of an email, in the form of a reference, in the form of a testimonial, will go a long ways, on your website, in trying to win some new customers, in trying to, hang on to existing customers, believe it or not. So I would say there are many things you can do as terms of action items. The question is, how many of them will you do? And that's the name of the game. Now, if you have a list of your 500 customers, if you have a list of all the information about them, and now if you have a list of all the action items you can do with them, now it's a question of executing on the action items, which is, step 3. So we talked about knowing your customers. We talked about organizing all the information about your customers. Now the third step is, the T, which is talking to your customers. And I feel that's an area which needs more help, right? Because when we did the poll earlier, some of us were only interacting with them once a month. Well, if we can change that, our goal is to talk to customers, at least 20 of them every day. If you have set up everything right, you should be able to send out 20 personalized actions daily with 20 customers in a matter of 1 hour. I'll tell you, each personalized action, be it a personalized email, be it a personalized message, be it a personalized call, be it a quick message on the messaging platform of your choice, be it LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, etc. Be it a quick group chat. Any of this, if you have done your homework, will not take more than 3 minutes. The question is a habit. You set aside that 1 hour. You say, here are the 20 contacts I need to send, this personalized actions, today. And then you go and do it. And what will end up happening is you'll probably end up getting it done in less than half an hour, because now you know that this machine is working. And I think what will end up happening is a habit which will then have you connect and engage with at least 500 contacts every month. Because if you have put the plan in motion, if you have said, if you've done your homework, if you have done everything else right, then I think talking to the customer, which is the last step, will be as easy as 1, 2, 3. But what you want to do is personalize it. What you don't want to do is again send them a mass email. So don't get in that habit. I would say is get in the habit of a personal message, even if it is something as simple as, hey, how's it going? How was your last weekend? Hey, did you know about this? Hey, let me share with you. Let me share a motivational message with you. Hey, did you know that this influential speaker had this to share on YouTube the other day? Let me send you a link to his video. Again, simple messages like that, believe me, they will connect and resonate. And the more you do that, the more these customers will come back to you. Now, you don't want to overdo this, of course. I would say maybe one message, a week to begin with, and then wait for them to respond. And once they do respond, then you can come back. So yeah, the 3 steps: knowing your customer, organizing everything about who they are and all the information around them, and then ultimately talking to the customer. And I think if you do that actively and diligently, then you have a process here which can then hopefully get you to your 500 customers quickly.
And this helps you both maintain and gain customers. So if you only have 500 customers, that's going to help you be able to maintain and engage more, and that's going to help you build more. Am I hearing you correctly?
Absolutely. I mean, look, prospects, of course, will love the attention. And, typically what ends up happening is a lot of us are very active in the prospecting stage, because we know that we want to get a new customer going, but we become less active and to the point of almost being reactive once we already have an existing customer. So I would say this process works for both. Definitely works better for engaging your contacts, your existing customers. But even for other contacts, which are just acquaintances, you want to somehow build a relationship with them, right? Because they don't know you yet. This is a process to build a relationship, which ultimately will lead to better business. Let's say contact's birthday is coming up and you have that information, it's there, LinkedIn gives you that information, even Facebook gives you. You know what, wish them happy birthday, take that 20 seconds and send them a nice birthday greeting. It's just going to help you connect better with that customer. And there are times when if you want to refer somebody over to them, that's again a great way to break the ice. Maybe your contact was looking for something and now you have a referral for them. Go ahead and send them that referral. They would appreciate that. A good referral given, is potentially a good business in the making. The key is to form the good habits, which will then in turn translate into doing good business.
Okay. Well, before I start to ask you 1,000 more questions, does anyone else have any questions or comments or anything that they want to say?
Yeah, Anecia, I see a couple of questions on the chat as well as in Q&A. So let me start with one, and after asking this question, I have a question for you, Sanjay.
Absolutely.
How many blogs should a business publish in a month?
So the blogs, so why publish blogs? Let's even get to that. So what happens is when you are sharing a blog, there are 2 things that can come out of it. Well, one is a search engine like Google or Bing or Yahoo. They will pick up the blog content. And if your customer is looking for information about that particular content, it could be a do-it-yourself article. It could be, did you know? It could be even an FAQ. Then they will hopefully find that content, go to your website, read that information, and then respond. So I think from that vantage point, an educational article on a blog is a great way. It almost acts as a good magnet, if you may, to bring in, I would say, the word is, the traffic comes to you, right? So as opposed to you going out. But now you can also convert the blog around and send it out. So, if you have again created your contact database where a lot of them are still suspects or prospects which haven't quite yet moved into the qualified stage, hey, it's a great way to share with them the article saying, hey, look, we just shared this. This could be of interest to you. So that's a more proactive approach where now you are emailing that customer or even sending them an SMS or a message saying, check this article out. This is something of interest to you. The how many question is, I would say, of course, it comes down to resources, right? How many resources you have. If you're writing it yourself, then you have to take the time off and write that blog. And a good blog post can easily take an hour to two at least, if you want to write a good one. If you have some help, then I'm sure you can do a few more. I would say maybe 2 to 4 blog posts in a month, but not overdoing it would be the right number.
And the word count should be how much? 350 to 500 or more?
Yeah, so I think the word count is on the intent of the blog. If it's an educational blog where you're trying to educate the customer, then really there is no limit on that, because I've seen some good articles. For instance, earlier today I was trying to check, how to do multitasking, on an iPad. So there was an educational blog post I went to. I searched on Google. And that was a pretty lengthy article, but it really was really well written because it had a lot of good screenshots. It pretty much exactly told me what I could be doing. What I ended up finding is that I cannot do a Zoom video conferencing call and have a PDF open at the same time, because then it will turn off the video. And it was, it's something I eventually figured out. But the point was, an educational blog post could be even 1,000 words, right? As long as it gives you good information and it's not distracting you, and the reader. Something which is more advertorial, I would say, yeah, limited to 500 or less. People don't have a lot of time to read, if it's an advertorial type of blog post. But if it's something educational, go for it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a notation from Natasha. I like the idea of online chat, but is it not realistic unless you have 100 online support?
So 100, yeah.
I think what the point he is trying to make, that unless you have a certain number
live.
of visitors coming to your site, why would you even keep that?
100% live. So I think she did say that. So yeah, the online chat is an important thing to have. So if you are a B2C website which sees a lot of visitors, what is a lot? If you're seeing a few hundred visitors every day, then obviously there will be a lot of questions by those visitors coming on your site, and an online chat is a great way to answer those questions. Now, if the chat itself becomes less online or less live, by that I mean if the people have to wait to get an answer, then it's not worth it. Then you better have more people to respond to the chat, because again, it's all about giving instant answers. So as long as you can build your platform to provide that live answers, then go for it. The moment you get into the habit of, again, having a chat, but again, you can only give on-demand answers, then it's not worth it. Chat bot is another way to engage. My experience with chatbots is that it's a good way to give basic answers, but many times if the customers have more specific questions, and if you cannot connect the chatbot to a live representative in a given time, then again, the potential of you losing that client is very high.
Yeah.
So I would say it's a fine line between a chatbot and a chatbot reverting to an asynchronous messaging where you end up telling them, go here and we'll respond to you, versus actually getting the specific answer or providing the specific answer that the customer is looking for. Facebook does give you, by the way, a good way to add their messenger tool. So for a lot of businesses, if they don't want to invest a lot of money, on their own software or finding something, you can easily integrate a Facebook Messenger, into your website. That's another way to go as well.
Yeah. And I think, just for the benefit of our audience, if any of you are looking to implement chatbot, then, please connect with us if you need any help. We have charter members in our group who specialize in this. And it is not only about chatbot, but, AI-based chatbot. So that is picking up. We have members in our charter member group who can easily help you, or at least guide you, mentor you, or put you in the right direction.
AI is the way to go. If you can put together all potential questions the customers could have, and then have the right response tree, as they say, based on if then else analysis, then I think a good AI chatbot can go a long ways.
Yeah. Sanjay, in the earlier part of the webinar, you talk about being an educator, and there is a question from Shankar that it takes time to be an educator. And if you have to be the leader in your field of the customer to listen, in short, how can you educate and still ensure that your product services is bought competitively? So for
Yeah,
someone
so
who is just starting their business journey, how they become an educator or a subject matter expert in their
you
field?
got it. There is no two ways about it, right? Because the way I see it is in any given marketplace today, Shankar, thanks, great question, by the way, and Anshuman. Uh, there's just too many solutions out there, right? And I can't see a single place where there's less a couple of solutions or three. And if you want to be a dominant player in this marketplace, you have to be able to educate your customers, right? So the education could be either in the form of this kind of Zoom meetings. It could be in the form of quick video tutorials that you post on your website, be it on YouTube or other platforms. It could be FAQs, as we talked about. There is, look, what happens is, of course, you got to talk about your products and services and benefits and features. I'm not saying you don't do that. You have to do that. That's a minimum. But if you want to then go to the next level and if you want to differentiate yourself, that's where the education comes in. Because if you look at most small businesses, they stop right there. They stop mainly at the products and services and features and benefits and maybe even some testimonials. What they don't do a lot of is the education part. And then what ends up happening, Shankar, is if you have three different solutions you're looking at, but the one which actually does that and does an incredible job of educating you, I think you're going to lean towards that solution, because now you realize that they're actually not just there to sell you, they're there to educate you, and then they're there to actually help you inform, make a better informed decision. To me, that's a better sale or a better marketing any day versus a straight off. Now, what the education also does very well, Shankar, is it builds your brand for the long term. It goes back to authenticity of your brand as well, and it gives you a brand lift. Because what doesn't happen is, look, everybody can have a small budget of marketing, and if you do your short-term marketing budget and spend money on advertising, you will be able to get your 30-40% customers from there. And a lot of people do a good job, and I help a lot of customers do that as well, where we spend some money on advertising, some on social media, some on messaging, etc., etc. There is a bucket, and customers come in and do business. But the education part builds your brand out. And what happens is the companies which have a strong brand, both locally and eventually nationally, at some point there is the exponential effect that takes off, where 70 to 80% of the customers start coming to you because of your brand and less because of the money you are spending on advertising. And that's kind of where you want to get to. So yeah, it requires some patience, but that's the path to eventually get to you.
Sanjay, you also mentioned earlier on that it may take up to 1 to 1.5 hours to reach out to all the customers that you intend to reach in a day. There is a question from Philip. Any tool that you use to help in this process, know, organize, and talk? So would you recommend any tools?
Yeah, so I would say the talk part is, obviously there are no two ways about it, right? The talk part is the hard part, because what I'm trying to tell you is get away from all this automated tools, right? So it goes against a lot of what marketers tell you, because what is happening is the more automated tools you are using, the more dissonance is happening in the marketplace. I can frankly, I can immediately see today if Anshuman is sending me a personal email or a message versus this message from Anshuman came from his, company email or some email list. I know the difference. So if I can see the difference, I'm sure my customers can see the difference. And so there are no two ways about personalizing your communication, right? So I'm going to tell you, take that time to send that personal message out. Either call them, SMS them, message them using your favorite messaging products, personal email. anything which is personal is up for grabs. There isn't one single tool that can do it all. There are different tools that can give you help in each one of them. For messaging, there are a lot of good tools out there, which can personalize that. The same thing if you want to do the phone calls as well. There is something for setting up appointments. So I would say, look, it'll be great to have a tool that can help us organize better. For that, there's a good CRM system. I think you can look at many good CRMs out there, from Salesforce to Microsoft's, Dynamics to, Zoho, and then many more. I mean, that will help you organize all your customer information, which is obviously you need to have that for sure. A lot of business owners, if they don't want to invest into a good CRM, they can start off with Excel or even Google Sheets, to organize this. Because without a good organized view of all your contacts, again, you're just going to be shooting in the dark, and we don't want to do that anymore. I think the key is get organized first, and then use all the arsenal of communication tools, including Zoom and FaceTime and even Google Meet, whatever you feel comfortable with. And it's not just you who's comfortable. You have to also understand where your customer is coming from. Some customers, they will only use WebEx, and they will not connect you unless you use WebEx. While many more will say, no, we love Zoom, let's do Zoom. So again, you have to be aware of that and understand that, what communication, medium works with what customer.
Great. I have a final question for you, Sanjay. In this digital world where your identity is out there from Twitter feed to LinkedIn to Facebook, and your customer might also be following you on certain things. Yes. More so if you have a lot of followers, then you don't even know that, how many people are ideal customers or your current customer or potential prospects who are following you. What is your take about political messaging? Shall we shy away from it, or shall we speak our mind?
So that is a question of the day. So I would say there are two ways to solve that problem. One is, you could have your personal, I would say social media profile, be it on a Twitter or Facebook, right? There's your personal profile, and then you have your business profile, which is typically through your company brand name, right? So for instance, for myself, I have a personal profile, which is, Sanjay Dalal, which is pretty much everywhere on different networks. And then for oGoing's sake, we have the oGoing brand, which is oGoing. So what you definitely don't want to do is use your company brand to share political messages. That I would say is that will not go well, especially if you're going to use that and promote something where, then it could end up hurting you certain segments of the business based on what their political alliance is. So if you have a message that you're sharing on behalf of a company brand for, a political party A versus political party B, then be aware of the fact that the political party B will not be ready to do business if they come across that message. But on a personal brand, if you do share something, I would say don't go overboard with it. I think election time is coming up. It's easy to get into, I would say, a lot of conversations on a certain topic. I know Anshuman and I just recently did do that, on a topic which really didn't make much sense, but we did anyways. But I think as long as it was personal, it is fine. But as long as you know when to walk away, because what you don't want to do is make that online forum a forum for a huge argument. I think that can happen, and you need to know when to just walk away and just say, what, I have said what I had to say, and it's time to move on and not respond anymore. I'm very passionate, right? A lot of colleges are, on a personal level, a lot of colleges are returning, students on campus or offline. And unfortunately, a lot of students are getting impacted, right? There has been some outbreaks of COVID on campuses or outside campuses. And yeah, it's a passionate topic because my daughter is about getting ready next month to go to college. So yeah, I'm passionate. So as my personal brand, yeah, I can quickly share what I want to share about that topic. And if somebody has a differing point of view, fine, you know what, that person and I may have a counterpoint, but don't go overboard with that, right? I mean, I'm not going to spend more than half an hour on something like that. And if I end up doing that, that just tells me that I'm not focused on what I'm trying to be doing as a business. So there is a limit to it. I would say you should know your limits, and you should know when to cut off the arguments or cut off the discussion altogether.
Right. With that, it is already 5 minutes past the scheduled time. So thank you, all the attendees. Thank you, Anecia, for conducting this event for us. And above all, thank you, Sanjay, for bringing so much valid points and educating us to how to get 500 touch points with your customer every month and try to get new customers. So because this is the best way to interact with them and get net new revenue out from them.
Yeah, I would say the big takeaway, Anshuman, thank you again, Anshuman and Anil, Anecia, great host, thank you again. I would say the big takeaway is get in the habit. First, allocate that 1 to 1.5 hours every day. Set that, just put that on your schedule and make sure you don't have any meetings in that time. It's a blocked schedule on your calendar, no other distractions. And then just get to work, right? I mean, of course, after you have made your list, then you just have to get to work and do that. And I think, as you will know, the first week will be hard, but after you do it the proper way, you will find that you're just going to get a lot more efficient with this process. So again, thank you all for attending, and we'll be happy to connect with you on oGoing and LinkedIn and any other platforms you're on, and look forward to your engagement.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you, Anecia.
Thank you.
Thank